What's up, guys? I'm back with another video, and this time I'm gonna talk about how to deal with the 2-1-1 build from Terran. And 2-1-1, of course, meaning 2 barracks, 1 factory, 1 starport into a 16 marine drop. So I'm not gonna talk too much about the early game here, just because I want to make this this video so that you can use it no matter which opening you're doing. The exception would be if you're playing 2-base Muda. But what you need to do there is just simply cut drones on 44 and go back into droning after you've defended the first 2 medevacs. Alright, so when talking about 2x, the most important thing in the early game, that's just like a general thing, is that you don't ever want to overmake Zerglings. You want to make the Zerglings as late as possible, like right before the medevacs arrive. So you want to make sure you get out as many drones as possible before that. And that's a very common mistake I see a lot of lower level Zergs do, is that they know they need Zerglings to defend the Hellions, so they're blindly just gonna make Zerglings every now and then. So the important thing is to have some sort of benchmark of knowing when the Hellions would have arrived at your base if they were coming. So the first tell that it might be a 2-1-1 is that the normal Hellion timing would be to arrive here at the very latest 3:45. At the very latest they would leave their base at 3:30, and at the very latest they would arrive here at 3:45. So when we see that there's no Hellions on our side of the map by 3:45, we need to get a little bit suspicious of what the Terran is doing. We need to think if they're doing 2-1-1 or some weird 3cc build, or hiding or saving up for 4 Hellions and then doing a 4 Hellion run by. So that's what we should be thinking about right here. So what you need to do here is just, as soon as you have link speed, you want to send 1 Zergling around the map to check his natural, and that's how we're going to confirm that there's Hellions coming or not. So if there's a map that allows for this Overlord, that's very good for you, because then this Overlord can spot Hellions coming out, right? But if there's not, you just have to use the benchmarks that I told you about with the Hellion timing and using speed links to scout. So we're gonna go across the map here. In the meantime, we're just droning. Like I said, we don't want to overmake Zerglings here, so we're just droning and making queens. And the goal you want to get to here versus 2-1-1 is 50 drones. You don't want to make any units before 50 drones. So you're just making queens and drones. So here we came with a Zergling here. We saw that they had a big chunk of Marines. We saw no Hellions. We saw no 3rd CC in the wall. So here we can be pretty sure it's a 2-1-1. The only other thing it could potentially be is like a 3cc with no factory. But if they're doing that, they wouldn't have this many Marines already. They'll probably have like 6, something like that. So that's something you have to check for, the Marine count. But you get here, you see this Marine count, you can be pretty sure it's a 2-1-1. So from here we're just sticking to the plan, making 50 drones. And we want to get up to 7 queens before the 5-minute mark. Usually the medevacs arrive at the earliest on your side of the map by like 4:45 to 4:50. So that's when we want to be ready for the timing, right, for the push. And you also want to add 2 evos here. Whenever you have the money for it, without cutting drones, just simply start 2 evos, so we can get 1 run going as soon as we have 250 gas. The only other thing you need to think about from here is that it could be a Hellbat all-in with the 2-1-1. So instead of putting the reactor on the starport, they keep it on the factory, they make Hellions, they get an armory, and they hit you with a Marine medevac steam timing with Hellbats. And the way you scout for that is just simply to have Zerglings on his outside of his base. And another thing you should always do is, as soon as you know it's 2-1-1, you need to start chasing the Reaper away from your side of the map, so you can creep spread freely, deny vision, and also put these Zerglings out to spot. Because since there's no Hellions to back this up, we always want to try to kill this as soon as we know it's a 2-1-1. But either way, we put these Zerglings here to check for the Hellbat timing. Because if they're doing that held by timing, they won't have 2 medevacs right away. So they can't simply lift everything up and fly across the map. They need to walk across the map to be able to do that build. So if we don't see a move out here with Zergling, we're not worried about it. And if we do see the move out with Hellions here, we would simply just start with more queens, start a spine, start a baiting nest, and then you're pretty good to go from there. You could also do like a link counterattack right away if you wanted to. But that build is like super all in, so if you just defend, you're gonna be way ahead. So from here, we droned up to 50, and we want to get up to like 30 links here. This is like the go-to number to fight this build, like 30 links total. A little bit more because you have some Zerglings out of the map, so maybe like 32, 34 Zerglings, something like that. And in general, you just want to have a good idea of where the medevacs are coming. Something I messed up this game is I'm supposed to have an overload right here. And if you checked my previous video on overload positioning, you can find out all about the overload positioning stuff. And another good thing to do would be to just have a couple of Zerglings spread out at a few places on the map, just to check where the medevacs are. Because what we want to do here is we want to have our queens in the front and use them to zone out the medevacs. And we're not really looking to fight with the Zerglings here. We're just keeping them nearby, and we go with the queens first always, and we try to focus the medevacs if we can. If we can't, we just let the marines, or let the queens fight the marines. And we don't bring the Zerglings until the fight, until the marines are already attacking the queens. So we keep our Zerglings a little bit back, we go in with the queens, and if he were to stand his ground here and try to fight and like target my queens, that's when the Zergling comes in, we transfuse, we target the medevacs. And we're just looking to protect our creeps right here in general. And I'm gonna go back a little bit. After we made the 30 Zerglings to defend, you can make a little bit more if you're a little bit nervous about holding it. If you don't feel comfortable holding it, then you can make a little bit more. But in general, like 30 to 35 Zerglings is more than enough to defend this. And after that, we're just gonna go back into droning. And we're gonna take 2 more gases here since we're going back into droning. So you wanna always make sure you keep full saturation on the minerals. And since we're making drones now, all the excess drones are gonna go into gases. So as we're making more and more drones, you want to get more and more gases. You want to start your 4th hatch as soon as possible. And here I should have had the overload here to spot for this. But if you don't have an overload somewhere, you need to use Zerglings instead. And if you're ever in a scenario where you don't know where the medevacs are, it's always very important to keep your queens in a very central position. So you want them to keep them somewhere where they can get to every base very fast. So from here they can get to the 3rd really fast, they can get to the main really fast. And they can also protect the creep here fairly fast. But let's say if our queens were over here, they would be way out of position for this. So if you ever don't know where the medevacs are, just keep your queens as centrally as possible. Yeah, from here, we're just defending, creep spreading, and we're droning up behind this. The next timing you need to think about is between 6:10 to 6:20, because that's when the next 2 medevacs could arrive with 16 more marines. So as soon as this bailing nest finishes, you want to make bailings, and you also want to make another wave of about 30 Zerglings around this time. And from here, it should be a pretty comfortable game for you, because if you defend it properly, you should have a economic advantage, because their 3rd base is so late. And you should have pretty fast upgrades. So once 1-1 finishes, you're good to go, you can fight very aggressively. You can also do run-bys if they try to push you at around 6:30 to 7 minutes. Stuff like that. And from here you can also just do whatever you want to play. If you want to play Mutas, you can get a Spire. If you want to play Hydraling Bane, you can get a Hydroden, or just go straight into Hive. From here it's whatever you want to do. So yeah, I hope that was useful for you guys. If you liked it, please like the video and subscribe. And if you have any feedback or ideas for other videos, let me know in the comments, and I'll be back again soon.